Oh no. Alabama tied up with Texas going into halftime. Texas started to look like they was about to go down and drive the ball down the field and scored, and just got backed up by a false start. 30 seconds left in the half, so who knows? They can get some points here. He's throwing it deep. He's got a man. Brian Robinson down at the 20. So it looks like they're gonna go up by either a field goal or a touchdown here. With the halftime ended. Wow. So Alabama, a 20-point favorite. 20-point favorite. You know, even I thought Alabama was going to come in here and basically, work Texas. I really did. And not to say that Texas is a bad team, but, it's Alabama. And not necessarily I thought it was going to be a blowout, per se, that they were going to run them out of the water. But I thought it was going to be something like it was semi-close, maybe Bama's up by a touchdown or two, going into halftime. And then third quarter comes around and Bama's able to extend their lead and kind of put the dagger in the heart of Texas. Well, it doesn't look like that's the case. Alabama has been sloppy in this game. They have not looked like the typical Alabama we're used to seeing. It kind of reminds me of the Alabama in the national championship game. You saw they were just they just looked out of sync. It wasn't necessarily, in the national champ, they weren't committing as much penalties in the national championship game, but like their overall production and efficiency was just off, and they couldn't move the ball, and they really couldn't do anything offensively. Well, this is basically how this game is going so far, and the thing that you got to add on to is the penalties. I think Alabama's had 9 or 10 penalties. That's the most. They said it was the most penalties since like 2009 or something like that. You got to go back to 2009 to have that many penalties on an Alabama team. And they got away with a couple too. Several, they just got one right here. But several pass interference penalties pass interferences that I saw that Alabama corners have been very touchy against Texas's wideouts, and they've been letting them play. They haven't caught any penalties. When I saw, like, even a few minutes ago, there was a back shoulder fade, and you had the Alabama player start tugging at the shoulder of the wideout. So they've gotten away with a couple big pass interference penalties, but so this could have very well been 13, 14 penalties so far in this game. Not a good game for Alabama so far. It's tied 10-10, and honestly, I don't think Alabama's going to get it turned around. I mean, looking at this score right now, and it's not even just the score, looking at how Texas is performing, they're not making much mistakes. They're driving the ball, which I'm surprised about. That's the biggest surprise, is the way they're moving the ball down the field. You know what I mean? I thought that they weren't going to be able to have any success, moving the ball. So that, oh man, I hate it for them. They just missed a field goal, so it will be 10-10 going into halftime. But no, they're not getting the points. That might come back to bite them, just like this field goal. You got to capitalize against the Alabama team. Field goals aren't going to win it, and I think it got tipped. The field goal got tipped. But you got to be able to capitalize and not settle for field goals. And it looks like they've been doing that so far in this game, is settling. They had the field goal, and they had a touchdown. So they're moving the ball. It doesn't seem like it by the score, but they are moving the ball. Alabama has not been able to move the ball. They've been stagnant, and Texas's defense really showed up. They really came to play, and they really showed up. And I would think that, there's chances of winning this game would be in a shootout. We saw it with Ole Miss a couple of years ago against Alabama. We saw it last year with Arkansas. Usually teams get real close to beating them is when it's a shootout. Well, what surprised me the most is how Texas is actually holding up and keeping the score low, but still giving them the best shot to do that by playing good defense and playing efficient on offense. And that's something that it's hard to do against Alabama because how talented they are. And so far, the talent on Texas's side is holding up favorably against that Alabama team. So that's something that's interesting to see. And yeah, I know Texas is a very talented team. They always have been. So it's not too much of a surprise. But what's surprising is seeing it be put together and seeing the talent actually result to on-field play, and because that's something that we haven't seen from a Texas team in a very long time. So that's interesting. Wow. If Texas is able to hold on and beat Alabama, that will be a huge upset. Huge upset. Now, I don't think Alabama's the number one team. I think I'd put Georgia ahead of them, definitely, especially after week one. I don't see how you can't, but, people favor Alabama, and it's more of an unconscious bias. It's not like people are actively favoring Alabama on purpose. It's just unconsciously we've seen what they've done. We've seen all the national championships they've had, and you can't forget that. So you automatically kind of people automatically kind of favor Alabama because, they kind of expect it from Alabama, and they've seen it so many times from them that it's in their head. So it's in their mind, and they kind of just have that idea even when it might not be true. So that's why kind of Alabama has that number one rating. And if I was doing a poll, I'd probably have them 3. Ohio State, I'd have 2 because they were tested against Notre Dame. And I'd have Georgia at number 1. Bama did not get tested. And they were trying to hype up the Alabama beating Utah State. It's the biggest, blowout that Bama's had in the season opener, blah, blah, blah. Well, most of the time in the season opener, they're playing Power 5 teams like USC or Florida State. They're playing a nobody. What do you expect? And the same Utah State almost lost to UConn last week. So how good is that Utah State really? You know what I mean? So, I'm not, surprised that Alabama has weaknesses. I didn't think that they were, a unbeatable team or something like that. So that's not really surprising to me. But what is surprising is this score right now at halftime. If I told you Quinn Ewers would be injured in the first quarter of this game, first off, you wouldn't believe me. Second of all, you'd be like, Nick, that's a sick joke. Well, and I'm not trying to laugh because he got injured. That's messed up. But it is a little bit ironic that the last time they played Alabama, their star quarterback, Colt McCoy, got injured. And we speculated ever since whether or not Texas would be able to win that game if Colt McCoy played. So, kind of a similar situation here. And Quinn Ewers was playing amazing and then goes down. And shit. Yeah, that's a tough break, Tough break. But Hudson Card came in and he's doing okay. He hasn't played bad. I mean, he's giving him a chance. So, another thing, if I told you that Quinn Ewers would have gotten injured in the first quarter, you would have told me, oh, Bama's beating them by 30 now. The spread's 20 points, so you would have definitely thought Bama's definitely going to cover that spread. Well, you'd be wrong. Yep, you'd be wrong. Huh. Man, I love college football. We'll see if they can hold on. See if Texas will be able to beat them. We also got Arkansas, South Carolina. Nothing unusual there. Arkansas is holding business, playing like they like to play. Playing smash mouth football on the offensive side and flying all over the ball on the defensive side. Typical Arkansas. Little fighting right there. Typical Arkansas team. I've always liked Sam Pittman and what he's done to Arkansas. My cousin's actually from Arkansas, so I kind of root for them a little bit, But Kansas State and Missouri. Kansas State is destroying Missouri. Well, not really, but not the score really, but watching the game, they're busting Missouri's ass, and Missouri doesn't have an answer right now. But it's 14-3 in that game. There was a weather delay, so they got the North Carolina-Georgia State game on 21-10 in that game going into half. So overall, great slate of games. I can't complain at all for this noon slate of games. I mean, shit. If this is our appetizer, then I'm excited for what comes in the 3:30 and the 7 o'clock games. I'll keep y'all updated as best as I can. And till then, go Mountaineers.